Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I am back with a beautiful set of prom nails. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with my e-file and I'm using a 180 sanding band and I'm just removing the shine from the natural nail. So remember, if you're having problems with lifting, most likely it's because you're not prepping the nail correctly, and our body has a lot of natural oils which is also on our nails, and that's why our nails are shiny. So you just have to remove that shiny layer, because if not, your nails will lift. But you also want to make sure that you only use a 180 sanding band, because if not, you're going to damage your client's nails. So be careful with that. But once again, I'm using a 180 sanding band and we're just removing the shine from the natural nail. Alrighty, so now I'm going to go in with a file and I'm just going to kind of shape up her nails. And you can always do this before. You can clip her nails and file them down before you do anything else, but I forgot to. So after this, I'm just going to dust them off and we're going to apply her tips. So for this, I'm going to be using my natural nail tips. And remember, if one nail is too big and one's too small, always go with the bigger one. As you've seen there with the first tip, the other one was too small and this one was a little bit too big. So I just filed it down to fit perfectly. Remember, you want the nail to fit from sidewall to sidewall. You don't want it to be too small, because if not, it will eventually pop off or it will crack. So keep that in mind. And for my nail glue, I'm using my KDS nail glue. So we just apply that on the nail tip. And I had somebody ask me, how far up do you glue the tip on the nail? Well, the nail tips have like a little line on the nail tip, and where the little line on the nail tip is, that's where the natural nail needs to go, if that kind of makes sense. And you can kind of tell on the nail tip, if you turn it over to the bottom, you will be able to see like a little line there, and that's where her natural nail needs to go. Alrighty, so now I'm going to go in with a tip cutter to cut the nails to the desired length. After we cut all the tips down, we're going to use both hands and measure the nails against each other to make sure that they are nice and even. If one's too long, then just go back and even them out. And then she do want her nails coffin, so I'm going to go in with a nail clipper and just cut the sides of the nails, and that's just to save time when it comes to filing. We're already kind of cutting them into a coffin shape. That way we just have to go back and redefine that shape. And I am using a straight nail clipper. I believe I got this from my local nail supply store, and I honestly didn't even know that they had the straight kind. I always have the curved kind, so this one is really helpful. So if you can find a straight nail clipper, that would be awesome. And I know also some people use scissors to cut the size of the nails, but I'd be too scared to cut somebody. So now I'm going in with my 100-100 nail file, and I'm just redefining that shape, and then I'm blending the tip in the middle. And when you're blending the tip, it doesn't make the nail last longer or anything. You're just making it look a little bit natural, so when you lay your acrylic down, it won't have a really sharp small line. Alrighty, so once again we are just reshaping the nail or shaping the nail, and I'm using my 100 nail file. And as you can see, by me cutting the side of the nail, we're not having to do as much filing, so we're just filing the sides. And remember, you kind of want to just alternate from side to side when you're filing, that way your nails aren't crooked. And then whenever you file the tip, you want to make sure you file at a 90 degrees angle so you can have that nice and straight shape. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and apply my primer. And remember, this primer, you only apply it to the natural nail. You want to make sure you don't apply it on the skin, because if they have any cuts, it will burn them. So just keep that in mind. And for my acrylic, I'm using my Mia's Secret acrylic system, which is my pink acrylic and my monomer. And for my brush, I'm using my number 9 brush by Alpha Brush. Okay, so now I'm using my angel foil, and I'm going to do a whole nail of angel foil. So as you can see, I just measured it against her nail, and then I'm going to cut the little piece out. And you want to make sure you cut it a little bit smaller than the actual nail, because you want to encapsulate it. If you do it all the way to the cuticle area, you're not really going to be encapsulating it. The acrylic would just be right over the angel foil and it will come off, so keep that in mind. Just cut it a little bit smaller. So to apply it, I do a thin layer of acrylic so it will stick to it, and I do it all over the nail, just a thin layer of acrylic. And then I grab my angel foil, I crumble it up, and then I take it back out into the shape. That way it gives it a little bit texture. So now I'm going to place it on the nail, and I'm just going to pat it down to where it stick to the nail. And if you have to go back and cut around that, that's fine. So remember, you want it to be a little bit smaller than the actual nail, that way you can actually encapsulate it in the acrylic, because I've had it to where I cut it like the actual size of the nail and it eventually came off. So just keep that in mind. So now I'm just going in with some acrylic, and I'm just going to lay some acrylic down over the angel foil. And you want to make sure that the whole angel foil is covered, because if not, then when you start filing, you will file off that angel foil. So once again, I'm using my Mia's Secret acrylic, and I'm using my Alpha brush in a number 9. Alrighty, so for the rest of the nails, remember, I always make sure that I work with the acrylic that I can control. You want to make sure you don't go in with a big ball, because if not, it will be a hot mess. So usually I kind of don't stick to a certain method. It depends on what size my first bead is, and then I lay it down wherever I think that it should go. So like that's why that bead I placed it closer to the cuticle area, because it was a bigger bead. So then I drag that down towards the tip, and then the rest of the beads I'm just going in to create my arch and making sure that the nail tip is nice and thick. So remember, you don't have to stick to a certain method. Whatever works for you, then stick to that. But also remember, you want to make sure your brush is always really clean. As you can see, I always wipe my brush off after I lay down my acrylic. Like every time my brush is going down, I'm wiping it onto the paper towel, because that acrylic will get stuck to your brush really quick. And the more acrylic that's on your brush, the bigger the mess will be. Your acrylic will not lay on the nail really good if there's acrylic on your brush, so keep that in mind. Okay, see, and for this now, I'm going to place my bead right in the middle, and I'm just going to brush it down towards the tip. Then I'm going to do another bead right below that one, And remember, everything you brush down towards the tip, that way your nail or your nail tip is nice and strong. And also you want to make sure that whenever you're laying down your acrylic, remember you want to make sure that you are wiping your acrylic brush a lot, because it will be a hot mess. And also remember not to just go in with a lot of acrylic, because you will have a lot of filing to do at the end. So you want to work smarter and not harder. And also remember to always go back and clean around that cuticle area really good, because if you have any acrylic on the cuticle area, it will cause your nail to lift. Alrighty, so on this hand I'll be doing the angel foil on the pointer finger. And remember, I just put the angel foil against the nail, I measure it, and remember you want the foil to be a little bit smaller than the actual nail. And I cut it out, and then you're going to crumble it up and then place it on the nail after you place a small bead of acrylic. So as you can see, I'm sizing it now, and then you could always go back and cut again once you place it down on the nail. So remember, you do a small bead of acrylic, that way it kind of works as a glue, because the angel foil is going to stick to the acrylic. Because I've tried doing it with glue, but it didn't work as well. It eventually came off. So I'm going to do a bead of acrylic. I'm going to place it on the nail and brush it towards the tip, so it's acrylic all over the nail. And you want to make sure that it's a thin layer, just enough to where the angel foil is going to stick to the nail, because if not, you're going to have a really thick nail. So then I'm going to place the angel foil on the nail, pat it down, make sure it's covering the whole nail, and then go back around and cut if you have to. As you can see, it was hanging off the tip, and then I usually just pull it down. As I'm patting down, I'm kind of pulling down away from the cuticle area, but if you have to cut, then that's fine too. And after this, we're going to go in and just encapsulate that piece with our acrylic. Alrighty, so after the acrylic application, we're going to go in and reshape the nails. So remember, they're already the shape that we want. We're just redefining that shape, making sure that we get any of that acrylic that's on the side off the nail or off the skin, and just reshape the nail into the perfect shape. So I'm using my 100 nail file, and after this, we're going to go in and file the nails with our e-file. Alrighty, so now I'm going to go in with my e-file, and I'm using my fine drill bit to file the whole nail. So remember, whenever you're doing this, you're basically getting rid of any little bumps or lumps, and then you're also sealing around the cuticle area. So as you can see, I always focus mainly on that cuticle area because I don't have any bumps or lumps. Usually that's when you first start doing nails. You can't really get your acrylic to lay down evenly, so you will have bumps and lumps, so you will have to file the whole nail, which I still file the whole nail, but I focus mainly on that cuticle area to make sure that it's nice and sealed and we won't have any water or moisture or anything getting under the nail, because that will cause lifting. So I know I've had a couple of girls lately telling me that they're having problems with lifting. So if you're having problems, most likely you're either not prepping the nail correctly, which means removing the shine from the natural nail correctly. It could also be the size of your tips. Maybe your nail tips are too small or even too big. And also, you might not be filing your nail properly around the cuticle area, which will cause moisture to get under the nail, which will easily cause them to lift. So most likely, once again, it could be you're not prepping the nail correctly, or the main one would be not filing around the cuticle area really good. Remember, you want to be able to see the cuticle area, the natural nail, and the acrylic. That way you know that the acrylic is not on the skin, if you're able to see all three things. And when I say that, I don't mean there need to be a big gap between the cuticle and the acrylic, because you don't want it to look like it's time for a fill, but you want to be able to see it to where you, like I said, you know that there's no acrylic on that cuticle area. Okay, so now I'm going in with a buffer, and this is just to remove any scratches that were left from the e-file, and this is just to make sure that the nail is nice and smooth. If you do not buff the nail and then apply a polish, you will be able to see any little scratches that are on the nail through the polish, so make sure that they are nice and smooth. As you can see, I always rub my finger over the top of the nail to make sure I don't feel any little bumps or anything. That way if I don't feel anything and it's nice and smooth, then I just move over to the other hand. So once again, we're just buffing the nails, and then after this I'm just gonna dust them off and wipe them off with an alcohol wipe. Alrighty, so now once again I'm wiping the nails off with an alcohol wipe, and I'm going to be using my Mia Secret gel resin as well as this little 3D bling glue or gel. I'm not sure what it is. I haven't been able to find it. I ordered it on eBay and then it kind of disappeared, so honestly I haven't found it anywhere else, but if I can find it I'll let you guys know. But it's basically just like a really thick gel, but whatever works for you. If you have something that works for you to apply your big 3D bling, then that's fine. So I applied it, and then I'm gonna cure that to make sure it doesn't move around. But for now I'm gonna go in with my Mia Secret and I'm gonna apply some bling going over to the side of the big rhinestone piece. Once again, I'm using my Mia Secret gel resin, my SS6 and my SS12, and I'm using my wax pencil to apply my bling. Alrighty, so once again I'm using this thick gel to apply my big bling, and also I know I seen somebody just mix like some actual gel with a little bit of acrylic or the powder, and then they applied the big pieces of bling on the nail like that, and then they cured it. So I wonder if anybody's tried that. So that if you've tried mixing gel with acrylic powder, let me know how it worked as far as applying like big pieces of bling, or if you have a certain way that works for you really good, let me know, because I've only used this once before and her stuff stayed. I think she was missing maybe one. So if you have a different way, let me know. So for the rest of the nails, we're just applying a whole bunch of bling and some caviar, and that's going to be it for that. So once again, I'm using my Mia Secret gel resin, my SS6, my SS12, a couple of big bling, and then some caviar beads. Alrighty, so to apply my caviar beads, I go in with a top coat. So I'm using my IBD gel top coat, and then I'm gonna apply some bling on it too. So before I cure the top coat, I'm applying my bling, and basically it's working as a glue. The top coat is working as a glue, and then I'm gonna sprinkle the caviar over the nail. So I'm just using a metal cuticle pusher to pick up the caviar. As you can see, I sprinkle it all over the nail. Make sure you turn their finger over to the side so you make sure that you get a good coverage, and then I'm going to cure that for 60 seconds. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other one, or I've already did the same thing for the other one. So after you cure, you want to just file away anything that's hanging off the nail. That way you don't have really sharp edges or rough edges. And then after this, I'm going to apply a top coat. So for my top coat, I'm using my IBD gel top coat, and I'm just applying it like around the bling to make sure that everything is nice and sealed. And after this, we're going to cure them for 60 seconds. Alrighty, y'all, so I applied the cuticle oil, so now this is the final look. I hope you guys enjoyed. They turned out really pretty. That angel foil is just flawless, and all that bling is so pretty. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook at GetNailed32, and I'll see you guys in my next video.